Okay, so example 6 says square root of x plus 8, take away the square root of x plus 3 equals -3. Now, we have two square roots here, students, so what's going to happen is it's easier if we make one of the square roots, okay? So we are going to move one of these to one side of the equal sign. Okay, now by far this is going to be the most difficult question out of all the questions we have seen. So this is going to allow us to say x plus 8 here equals, over here we have square root of x plus 35 and then -3. We are still going to square both sides, right? So we are going to square both sides, but whenever you have two square roots on one side, it's easier. It's not going to be easy, but it's easier if we were to make one radical on each side. Okay, so we are going to square both sides just like this, okay? On the left side, it is easy to get rid of the radical sign. On the right side, it's a little bit more difficult because we are going to write this out twice, guys, okay? And FOIL. And yes, it's a little bit more difficult. So write it out twice and let's multiply. So on the right side, radical x plus 5 times radical x plus 5, students, the two radicals will go. So now we have x plus 35. Radical x plus 35 times -3 is -3 times square root of x plus 35. And then we get two of those, so -3 rad x plus 35, extend that bar. -3 times the -3, guys, is going to be a +9. On the right side, we are going to drop x plus 8 down. Now on the left side, I'm sorry. Now on the right side, let's combine like terms. 35 and 9, guys, that's going to give us 44. So x plus 44. Those can be combined because the square root and the radians x plus 35 are identical. So that's going to say -6 times square root of x plus 35. We are going to try to isolate the radical. That's every time you see a radical around, you're going to isolate it. So I'm going to move this x. I'm going to move that over here, move the 44, move the 44. Okay, so let's see now what we have. On the right side, that's gone and that's gone. On the left side, the x's are gone, but then we have now 8 take away 44. Okay, so that's going to give us a -36 equals -6 times square root of x plus 35. I'm going to need a bit more space, so I'm going to move it over here. Next is I'm going to copy that back down. Next, I'm still going to isolate, students, the square root of x plus 35. So naturally, we are going to divide both sides by the -6, okay? But let me copy that down first. Okay, so now we are going to divide this by -6, divide this by -6. Well, -36 and divided by -6, that's now a +6 over here. The radical is completely by itself. Okay, so we're going to square it again. Yes, this question is difficult because it looks like we are squaring twice. So 6 and square power, that's going to be 36 equals x plus 35 minus 35 from both sides, minus 35 from both sides, and that's going to say 1 equals x. But we do need to kind of check it, and we can mental check it if you want, okay? Are you ready to mental math with me? Okay, we're putting 1 in for x, so here we go. When x is 1, okay, 1 plus 8 is 9. So now we have a square root of 9. Take away 1 plus 35 is 36, question mark, okay, -3. Well, square root 9 is 3, so our next task is going to say 3 minus square root of 36 is 6, question mark, -3. And that is true, so we can box up our x equals to 1. Example 7 says x plus 5 in the quantity raised to the 2/3 equals 4. Now, guys, this is a rational exponent. All rational exponents can be rewritten as a radical. Your denominator is going to be the index. And then your exponent is going to be the numerator. So this is going to say the power of 2 since the numerator is 2, okay? Equals to the right side, it's 4. So first step is to undo the square root. That means that index is 3. The inverse of that is third power. So it's going to say x plus 5 quantity square, students, equals 4 to the third is the same thing as 4 times 4 times 4. Okay, so 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4, so that's going to be now 64. Now we have x plus 5 square equals 64. What we want to do now, students, is undo the power of 2 by doing square root. But every time you take a square root, we have to have 2 answers over here. Square root 64 is going to be plus or minus 8. And then this will cancel one another out. We have 2 equations, so we are going to write x plus 5 equals 8. X plus 5 equals negative 8 and solve it using your basic algebra. Okay, so minus 5 from both sides, x equals 3. Similarly, minus 5 from both sides, guys. So that's going to be x equals to negative 13. But let's check it, okay? I'm going to rewrite. My mind works a little bit better when it's in the radical format here. So I'm going to plug it in here, which is, guys, the same thing as this, okay? X plus 5 square question mark equals 4. Okay, so let's check. When x is 3, let's check 3 first. Well, that's cheek. Okay, check. Okay, when x is 3, let's check that first. So is it cube root? 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 square question mark, okay, equals 4. So cube root, guys, 8 square is 8 times 8. Okay, so that's going to be question mark. Okay, 8 times 8 is 8. 8, guys, is 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 times 2, that's 8. And then I got 2 of those, so that's why. Now, each triplet can be taken out, so that's 2 times 2, which equals to 4. So this is going to be okay to keep. So x equals 3 is okay to keep. Now, what happens when we have x equals to negative 13, okay? Again, plug it back into here to see if it equals to 4. When x equals to negative 13 is going to say cube root negative 13 plus 8, that's going to plus 5, I'm sorry, that's going to be a negative 8 in the quantity square equals question mark, okay, 4. So it's going to say, okay, well, negative 8 square, that's going to be 2 negative 8s, negative 8 times negative 8, and then this is cube. And negative 8 is going to be negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, 3 times for each one of those. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, okay? And again, cube root, put that thing back in the little pocket. I have 2 negative 2's coming out because we have 3 sets of negative 2's on each. That is definitely equal to 4, so it looks like we can keep both. So let's write it in. X equals negative 13, comma 3, and box that up.